So last night, for example, against a Minnesota team that's not a powerhouse, it comes down to the wire in overtime. He was criticized because he lost the hand. He got off a good shot. I thought it was good. I thought he'd won the game. He lost the game. You know what? Next time it's going in. But it's going to be like that this season. When that shot falls, which it'll do half the time, they'll win. And when it doesn't, they'll lose. I'm saying he'll be a little over 500. Just like last year, the team stays in place.
Once again, you convolute things to such a degree that we might as well take a course at Columbia to try to comprehend what you're saying. First of all, when you talk about the wisdom to deploy your skills, excuse me, that falls in line with your skills. If you're devoid of wisdom as to when to deploy the assets that you have, that compromises your skill set to some degree. That's number one. Number two, I'm sorry, Kevin Durant at 6'11" with what he can do. You talk about the most skilled player ever. Kevin Durant's not in that conversation. I think he is. What about Steph Curry? Last time I checked, I thought he had a nasty handle. And oh, by the way, he can pull up from 40 plus. Okay, that's a skill set. So we could debate that till the cows come home. That
is Kyrie in that conversation or not?
He's in the conversation.
Okay.
He's in the. I never said he wasn't in the conversation. You said he was the best ever. Period. I'm saying there are other people in the conversation to bring that statement by you into question. Now, let's get to what happened last night in terms of what Kyrie Irving means to the Brooklyn Nets. I believe the Brooklyn Nets are going to be better. The reason why I believe they're going to be better is because I think they're a pretty damn good team, period. And I think Kyrie is better than D'Angelo Russell. And I think the East is weaker this year than they were last year.
When you say better, you mean go further in the playoffs?
No, I mean a better record. I mean
a
better regular season record and potentially to go further in the playoffs. Because remember, they got bounced out in the first round. That ain't going to happen. That might not happen this year. Because when you look at Milwaukee and you look at Philly and to a lesser degree Boston, who I believe a legitimate argument can be made that Brooklyn could give Boston a run for its money, the reality is it's plausible that the Brooklyn Nets can end up a 3 or 4 seed and they could possibly get out of the first round. So I look at it from that perspective. In terms of a regular season record, let's also remember this. These brothers can play. Joe Harris is a damn good shooter. Reigning three-point shooting champion All-Star Weekend, if I remember correctly. Torian Prince is not a scrub. Karis LeVert can play. And then you've got Kyrie Irving. And then you got DeAndre Jordan, who's a shot blocker and a rebounder. We can't ignore him. We got Jarrett Allen. He's gotten a little bit bigger. He wants to challenge Joel Embiid. I don't know how he's going to look under those circumstances, but I expect him to be better. Obviously, Atkinson can coach. So when I look at the Brooklyn Nets, my mentality is this. They were a pretty solid team. Now they've added a star. The superstar hopefully will arrive at the end of the season. But even without Kevin Durant, the bottom line is when you look at the Brooklyn Nets, I see them, Max, specifically, they went 42-40 last year, if I remember correctly. I think they can win 45 to 47 games this year and probably end up a top 4 seed, and they go home in the second round. That's where I see it.
Listen, that's not much of an argument. A couple games here or there, yeah, if things break their way, but I don't see it. I want to get to what you said about me parsing, definitions and stuff, and you saying, hey, if you don't have the wisdom to deploy your skills to the best effect, that falls under skill. Okay, maybe, but I'm trying to get across. It's a fair point, but I'm trying to get across the feeling you get when you're watching Kyrie. There's something different about him. His whole kind of basket of skills, what he can do. There's so many that are pitched at such a high level, you start to wonder, why hasn't he, absent another superstar, been able to do more? Why is it that the Celtics got worse when he was on it? And you could point to the coach and Gordon Hayward's injury and guys taking a step back and all kinds of stuff. Why was it before LeBron got to the Cavs, they weren't any good, and then LeBron gets there and they're great? You can say, well, he was still developing. They didn't have a roster around him. And those are legitimate points. But what I'm saying is we have to pay attention to the reality, I think, that it just may be that his style of play, the kind of mentality he has, sometimes it's not point guard first mentality, and it's not going to elevate the team.
But that's because you're inclined to look at statistics. You're inclined to look at just numbers, primarily, not just, but primarily numbers. And what I'm saying to you at times, I believe you've been unfair to Kyrie. For example, when LeBron leaves and he gets drafted #1 overall, sure, they weren't going anywhere, but Cleveland improved every single year in the win category until LeBron returned. That's #1. It wasn't like they took a step back. They improved improved each year that he was there. He was a rookie, having played only a few games, 11 or 17, whatever the number was, at Duke University before coming in to the NBA. That's all the experience he had coming out of high school, about 11 to 17 games on a collegiate level, and then he comes into the NBA and they improve every year. Last year, the year before rather, when he was injured, he goes down. Then last year, he gets blamed for it. I understand he wasn't perfect, please don't get me wrong, but how many times have I told you Gordon Hayward being inserted into that starting lineup and fragmenting that team, Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens, and I respect the hell out of both of them, but their decision to put Gordon Hayward in that lineup when you had guys, Magic, Wilbon and myself talked about this yesterday on my NBA Sports Center with yours truly. Magic even talked about it. Wilbon talked about it. When a guy is getting it given to him in practice, and you insert him into the starting lineup. You fragment a team, but we talk about Kyrie.
No, I get that point, and you're saying stuff unfairly kind of sticks to Kyrie at times. I get that. I'm not even like that's a separate debate. What I'm saying is when you watch Kyrie, neither one of us have him as a top 5 player. He's probably a top 10 player, but you can get an argument on that. He's probably a top 3 point guard, but maybe not because of Damian Lillard the season he had last year. The things that Damian Lillard brings to a locker room, the way his teammates want to play with him. When I ask you, if I were to ask you, why isn't Kyrie automatically top 5 player in the NBA? Really, Stephen A., you see the same thing I do. It's what's missing is that thing where he's elevating everyone around him.
And that's where you and I disagree because listen, the only reason why we would consider Steph Curry is because of Steph Curry's marksmanship from long range. Usually when you're an undersized guy, you don't get to be in that conversation.
Where does Kyrie rank among point guards?
Amongst point guards?
Yeah, rank him right now amongst point guards.
I got to think about it, Max. I got to
think
about it. He's a superstar.
Harden.
He's a superstar.
Above or below Lillard? Because either Lillard or Kyrie is not in the top 3. And for me, even though I think Kyrie as a player, if you're just examining skills, is ahead of Lillard, if I had to pick one for my team, I'm probably going Lillard.
So as far as the question, how much better will Kyrie make the Nets this season? Max thinks they'll pretty much be the same. Stephen A., you think they'll win a few more games, potentially can get into the second round.
He's the best show in the NBA.
No question. 50 points.
That much is true.
In a debut with a new team, most ever in league history.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.